Harris here, I'm the online editor. Before we get started on this, please, if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to it. If you like the video, hit the like, turn on the notification bell so you know when we're coming out with great new videos. Do I have enough light on me? It's gonna have to be enough light. And let's get into it, guys. It's been over a week now since the 2022 Olympia weekend. We've had some time to digest the placings, the decisions, controversial topics that have come up since then. It's always, this is, like I said, this is our Super Bowl, so we're going to analyze and talk about it for a little while after it's over with. Some takeaways, obviously, Big Ramy, the two-time champion, slid all the way down to fifth. That was the biggest shock of the weekend as far as I was concerned. And Hadi Choopan, a guy who'd gotten third place twice, jumping all the way up and nabbing the Mr. Olympia title. Congrats to Hadi, man. Derek Lunsford, a guy who a lot of people thought had no right to be on that stage. He didn't earn his way there. He didn't qualify. He got a special invitation. He took second place. He beat, along with Nick Walker in third. Nick moving up from fifth to third. Great job, Nick. So both Hadi, Derek, and Nick, that's three people, they beat two Mr. Olympia champs, including a two-time and reigning champ. They both beat Brandon Curry. They both beat Big Ramy. Samson Dauda made an amazing statement in sixth place. He's going to be moving up. This guy's getting better and better and better. We saw Hunter slide down from fourth to seventh. Although I thought Hunter looked better. Saw Andrew Jack make his Olympia debut. It's a long year for Andrew. I don't think that was his best. I think the potential for Andrew is still sky high, and we've not even seen that. Bonac came in a little heavier, not as conditioned, dropped down to ninth place. And Rafael Brandao in 10th place. Beautiful physique. Ian Valliere dropped down from 7th place 2 years in a row to 11th. And we can talk about the back issue if you guys want to. Michael Krizo, debut in 12th. Great debut, and of course he's going to be doing better and better. Rounding out the top 15 were Patrick Johnson, Charles Griffin, Justin Rodriguez. Of course, Chris Bumstead winning the Classic Physique Olympia for the fourth time in a row at age 27. Chris only gets $50,000 for that, which is 1/8 of what Hadi Choopan got, $400,000 for winning Mr. Olympia. So some people say, that's not fair. That's not fair. Classic is getting just as popular. I do think Open is still the main draw by far, but Classic is coming up fast, guys. I mean, every time Bumstead came out on stage, Bumstead got a better crowd reaction than Ramy did, than Hadi, anybody. Every time Chris Bumstead came out on that stage during the weekend, whether it was during judging or finals, place went bonkers. People love Chris, and why not? What's not to? He's a great kid. I call him a kid because I have a daughter that's even older than him. So, man, let's see what you guys have to say. Because how many of you are still butthurt about certain decisions? I'm wondering, because it's inevitable. Because there were 30 guys in that show. So let's see. Thoughts on heading back to Florida next year? Evan, for me personally, it doesn't matter where the show is. I never leave the hotel. I never leave the venue. It could be in Detroit. It could be in Anchorage, Alaska. It could be in Peru. It doesn't matter to me. It's you guys. Do you guys like Vegas better? You like Orlando better? Me, it doesn't matter one bit to me at all. I do think Vegas has more of a glamorous aspect, like, big boxing fights, title fights have always been there, UFC fights. It's got that real prestigious reputation for big-time sporting events. So in that aspect, and of course, concerts and superstars. So yeah, I get that. But personally, I don't care. I'm going to click out of this no thanks thing. Glen Hill, I run from sunny England. Is it sunny there? I feel for those of you in the Western New York, like the Buffalo, New York area, you guys got hammered. 43 inches of snow. That's almost 4 feet of snow. I think somewhere between 15 and 20 people died stuck in their cars out on the roads, buried under snow, froze to death. My heart goes out to their families. That is awful. Blue Magic, wish these guys won more than 400K for putting their bodies through the stress. Yeah, I mean, this isn't pro football or pro basketball or baseball where there's, literally billions of dollars in it. It's not. I mean, you guys think, they have so much money. Compared to those sports, we don't have that much money. We don't have the big time sponsors like Nike and Budweiser and Coca-Cola. When you have Ford Motor Company, Lexus, when you have sponsors like that, You have a lot more money coming in. You have a lot more money available to everybody, including the athletes. Glenn Hill, do you reckon they should do the men's open all on the same day? That's been a big topic because so many of you guys, especially over in Europe, you had to be up till what? You had to wake up super early. Let's see. So the finals, the judging Friday night for the Mr. Olympia, it didn't get out until about 12:30 a.m. I want to say it was after midnight. Let's call it 12:30 a.m. Pacific. That's 3:30 a.m. 3:30 a.m. on the East Coast of the U.S., where I am right now, and add 5 hours onto that for UK, 8:30. So 8:30 a.m. It's so good God, yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, either they split it up so it doesn't go so late. They can't make it 3 days. That's gonna be too much. It's 11 divisions they have to get through. That's the problem. That's the issue. And they had 400 athletes in 11 different divisions. Each of those had to have judging and finals. And you have posing routines for Ms. Olympia, Mr. Olympia, classic physique, 212, women's physique. So that's what, 5? That's a lot of posing routines to have to sit through. Not everyone posed, of course, or we'd still be there by now. Top 10 in the Mr. Olympia and Ms. Olympia posed. And it was top 5 in classic, 212, and women's physique. But that was still... It was a long time. They even started the show Friday a half hour early. It was supposed to start at 7. And I think in anticipation of how long it was going to run, Bob Ciccarello, the MC, several points during the judging at the expo earlier that day, let people know we're going to start at 6 instead of 7, which is crazy. Usually if you're going to start something, a change of time on an event, you make it later. So people had to hustle and get there early. But we still got out so late. I don't know the solution. We're going to have to figure that out. Evan Lower, I like Las Vegas in the heat. In December, it was cold and didn't feel right. Yeah, it was in the 30s at night there. Not that I went out, but so I hear it was that cold. Yeah. But then again, the summertime is so hot there. It's too hot. I can't deal with that heat. I've been out there in the summer walking around. I remember the weekend Derek Lunsford won the USA in 2017. The USA Championships was in Las Vegas. That was the last USA I covered. And it was 115 to 122 days. 22 degrees every day. I think the Sunday I left, it was 122 degrees that day. That's too hot, man. Hey, Ron, says Bo True. Love you guys. Thank you, Bo. Love you too. Billy Baru. That's the golf club, the special golf club for the movie Caddyshack that Judge Snells had. He called it Billy Baru. What can Nick do, if anything, to beat Derek? I mean, they're neck and neck. It's like, Nick moved up from 5th last year to 3rd. He's already moving up. On any given day, if anybody really brings it, they can get past somebody who didn't bring it. I mean, Brandon Curry, I was thinking Brandon might get his title back. I really thought that. I thought he was bigger, and if he was in condition, maybe he would have been able to get his title back. What's up with the spinning circle I see on my screen all the time? Now I'm seeing ads. But, yeah, I mean, Nick just keeps doing what he's doing. If he can keep that midsection under control, keep everything else. I don't think he needs to be any bigger. I mean, geez, he's so big, Nick. He's got so much mass, and he came in great condition. It's like the top 3 were very close. I don't think it was like lights out, hottie smoking everybody. It wasn't like that. That's why we've seen the Mr. Olympia title change 5 times in 6 years now. So think about it. 2018. So 2017 was Phil Heath. There's one champ. 2018, the late... Sean Roden, sorry guys, had a little brain malfunction there. 2019, Brandon Curry. 2020 and 21 were Rami. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and this year 5, 6. So we've had 5 different champs in 6 years for Mr. Olympia. We're not seeing an era of domination where some same guy wins for 8 years in a row, as Lee Haney did, as Ronnie Coleman did. I don't think we're ever going to see that again. Even Phil Heath winning 7 years in a row. I don't see anybody right now that's going to be so dominant, unless like Samson Dauda or Andrew Jack gets to that level. Andrew Jack with another 10 pounds of muscle and better condition, maybe. Who knows? That's the exciting thing, is you never know what's going to happen from year to year. Quietly watching, Bo. Thank you. Bo True. Hit the like too, guys. Yeah, there's a like button somewhere. It's that thing right there with the thumbs up. You hit that. And you can share these too, you can share them. Let's see, Evan Lower, thought on the crazy light and deafening music. Do you think simpler is better? Is big production key to getting the audience in there? I don't think the audience cares. Oh, I missed it. I'll get back to you, Mohammed. I missed you there. It was, I didn't mind the lights. I thought it was cool. It looked like a real spectacle, a real huge, very expensive stage show, which it was. The music, if you were in the audience, every time the bass hit, it was like, everything vibrated, like your body, the chairs. I think they could have turned the bass down a few notches. That's my suggestion. Yeah, but I think the giant screens and the lights, and the music, it really does add to the whole feel of you're at a major event here. This isn't like, you look at the old Mr. Olympias. If you go back in time and look at pictures, I don't think there's any videos, unfortunately, but pictures of the old Mr. Olympias from like the 1960s, it was a little stage, very bland, black backdrop. There was like a little posing D-A-I-S, days, little platform that they would get up and pose on. They had like no staging at all, nothing. And I think the first prize back then was $500. Really, it was, which would not be $400,000 in today's money. Mohammed El Alahidust, can Hadi repeat his title in Olympia? Anything could happen next year. He could win again. Derek could win. Maybe Nick Walker could win. Maybe Rami could resolve these wacky issues going on with his body and get his title back. Who knows? You know, it's still almost a year away. Glenn Hill from UK again. What can they do to avoid the issues with height that they had with the classic guys? As this is so crucial for their weight, surely they can measure their height definitively, and it remains as that. Yeah, Chris Aceto made a post about that because Ramon missed his height and had to go get a chiropractor, stretch him out in his room and come back. And one of his other clients, I'm not sure who his other client he was referring to, missed their heights. I know there was one guy who missed his height or missed the weight and height in Classic. I don't know where he's from. And he didn't get to compete. He was just walking around all weekend. How bad would that suck? I also feel bad for Logan Franklin, who had major like digestive issues at the end and could not get on stage. And he had been getting ready for this for well over a year because he qualified Logan back in November. It was October or November. I think it was November last year at the Sean Ray Hawaiian Classic. So he had a year and a month of no competing, just totally focusing on this show, this weekend. And man, at the last minute, his body just shut down and said, nope, we're not doing this. And I think it was a wise decision on his part, and Milos, his coach Milos's part, to Sarshev to withdraw, because the last thing we need is someone getting seriously, I guess injured wouldn't be the word, but suffering a serious health problem, like on stage, passing out, throwing up, who knows? Who knows what could happen? He was not feeling well, so he had to withdraw, and I'm sure it sucks. So my heart goes out to Logan. Sean, yeah, but what can they do with the height? We've said this before. Have it in the these guys can get heighted once. Let them do it in the morning when you're tallest. We're all taller early in the morning, and then the spine compresses as the day goes on. Have them do it once, and that's on record. That's your height forever. Maybe they'll shrink a little bit or something, but your height's not going to change as an adult drastically from year to year. Barring some spinal injury or something. I don't know, like that guy Big Ed on 90 Day Fiance. But have them do it once instead of, so we don't have to have this situation again where guys show up and they miss their weight. I don't know. There's a lot of questions. That's every Olympia. They try to do it better and better every year, both the Olympia Committee and the ACBB Pro League. And there's always things that are going to come up. It's a huge event with all these people and a lot of moving parts. So there's always going to be room for improvement. So hopefully that's what they're always trying to do, is figure out how to make it better and make things go more smoothly next year. But yeah, get their height once. That's a great idea. Sean Turner says that Billy Baru, keep coming in shape and add more detail. That's the hottie. This will give you a chance if Derek or Hottie's off. He can win if they're off. If they're on, no chance. I'm talking about how Nick can beat them. Yeah. One thing I didn't like was seeing, like, it was Barry DeMay made a post of Dorian Yates' back from 90, I think it was 92. Yeah, as he was going into the rear lat spread, so you could really see the Christmas tree. It's that shot where the Christmas tree was real clear. And next to it was a very blurry shot of Hadi Chupan doing the same thing, coming back. And you couldn't see any striations in the lower back, any Christmas tree. But they picked the best picture of Dorian and the worst picture of Hadi. That picture of Hadi, I believe, was like a screenshot off the pay-per-view, where the resolution wasn't as good on the pay-per-view as it was in these high-res images. If you go to musculardevelopment.com and go to where it says contests, it's the most recent contest gallery. It's all the photos from Jason Breeze. So those are the high-res resolution images that Jason got from a really good seat, by the way. I was sitting right next to him. That's why I was able to get some really good shots. Just for the play-by-play on the musculardevelopment.com no bull forum thread. But you'll see the difference. You'll see how much better these people look in the high-res images, which is a more accurate representation of, a video stream. And especially what might have been like someone taking their phone and just taking a picture of the screen. That's what it looked like to me. It was that bad. I mean, to say that Hadi wasn't as conditioned as, Dorian or the other guys from the 90s, come on. He was freaking shredded. Derek was shredded. He was shredded. Nick Walker was in great shape. Best condition in the open, it might not have even been in the top 15. It might have been one of the guys who didn't make top 15. Some of these guys like Theo Laguerriere, Andrea Musi, Andrea Presti, some of the guys from Europe that were like way, like almost last call out, they were in great condition. Let's see, Sean Turner, Mohammed asks, can Rami back to stage again? He can, well, it all depends on what's wrong with him. I don't know what caused his lower back to look like it was atrophy, like the lower lats, I should say, lower lats and blurry. And that arm was real flat, that tricep, and his abs were really blurry, just not sharp at all. A lot of people were blaming the poor condition or flatness of a lot of the competitors on the time that they went on stage, and I agree. They were probably back there anywhere between 4 and 5 hours waiting to go on. And they couldn't eat much because if you don't know when you're going to go on, you don't want to eat something. You're like, all right, guys, let's go. And like, oh, shit, I just ate. I can't really keep my stomach in. So they had to eat. I'm sure they were just eating like tiny little bits of food here and there, maybe a little sip of water here and there. And they were just waiting and waiting, waiting. And that's not the best situation, the optimal environment for someone to showcase their physique at its best. So, yeah, I mean, those guys shouldn't have to go on so late. I think the feeling is if they did the men's Olympia judging first, people would just leave out. A lot of people would just get up and leave. And, I mean, they all bought their tickets anyway. You're not losing any money. It's not like we want our money back. We've already seen what we want to see. So maybe do it first next year. I don't know. I don't know what to do, guys. I like the old days. The old days, there was just men's and women's bodybuilding. In the old days, Mr. Olympia was one show, and then like a month later would be Ms. Olympia. So you'd go to see the Mr. Olympia, and that was it. There'd be judging in the day. It would start at like, I don't know, like 12 or something, 11 or 12. I don't know. I'm trying to remember it was so long ago. They would do the judging. It would take a couple hours. They'd come back at 7 o'clock and do the finals. That's it. Everybody go home. Good old days. Evan Lohr, how do you feel about the press conference format? I feel like I like the old way better if I had to choose. It's kind of awkward having the guys come out one at a time or a couple at a time and doing, Bob Ciccarello's trying to rile them up and get them to talk shit. I thought that was fine because the old format is everybody's on stage. They have tables and they're all seated at their tables in their tracksuits, or at one time they were wearing like nice 3-piece suits. But they're sitting there and they look so miserable because they're just waiting and waiting for their chance to be called on and answer some questions. And these guys are starving. They're exhausted. They look like they're like melting up there, and it was painful to watch. So in that aspect, I like this new format because you don't have to see these guys and girls waiting for like an hour and a half just sitting there. When can I go on? I just want to get out of here. So in that aspect, I think it's better. I don't know. Both of them have their pluses and minuses. Hello, friend. How far ahead of the competition do you think cbum is? Do you realistically see him losing in the next couple of years unless he's off, especially now that he's with Hani? I don't want to sound disrespectful to guys like Ramondino, Urs, Terrence Ruffin. Well, Breon's gone anyway. He's leaving Classic. He's going to 212. Alex Cambronero. Who else was up there? I mean, I do think that Bumstead was pretty dominant. I don't think it was close. Ramon has pretty high lats. Chris was he came out there. He was the champ. I don't see anybody beating him right now. If Urs' upper body gets significantly larger between now and next year, he could have a chance. If Ramon can get his lats to drop a little, I don't know if to me it looks like they just insert a little high. I don't know. To me, cbum looks pretty damn dominant right now. I don't see anybody beating him for a while. Best Olympia in a while. Yeah, I agree. The Exila man, the top 6 is incredible. Could have gone to anyone. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't think Brandon should have won, but Samson, I thought, could have been much higher than 6th place. He was the best surprise in the Open with Samson Dauda, because he had made such improvements since the Arnold Classic early in the year, and the Boston Pro, which was just 1 week later. And that was a space of March. He had about 10 months. Yeah. 9 months. But he made a lot of improvements in that time. Evan Lauer, I guess I'm just a little frustrated. I'm a long-time gold VIP member. I don't feel like a VIP. I have to wait in tons of long lines. I felt like I had no VIP access to the Expo or meet the Olympians. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, but you had better seats. You're way up front. The VIP seats, if you don't know, guys, at the Olympia are actually in front of the judges. So they have the best seats in the house. Steve Weinberg does that the same way for his New York Pro. VIP is in front of everybody, even the judges. Judges are in back of them. Media's in back of that. So, yeah, I guess you don't have any special access, but you did get very nice seats, Evan. Glenn Hill, do you think the classic prize money should be increased? Is 50K didn't seem enough for such a popular class? Nobody's really crying about it, unfortunately, because, Bumstead, he's the only one really missing out on a huge payday. If he was getting paid the same as Hadi, he just lost $350,000 he could have made. That's how much more Hadi got than him, but Bumstead makes his own money. He makes his own money. He's part owner of Raw Revive. He's got his own supplement line within Raw. He's got his clothing line. He does very well with his YouTube channel, a couple million subscribers. He has other sponsors. So Chris isn't crying about the extra prize money, because someone like Hadi Chupan, his Evogen contract, whatever that is, and his Olympia money, I know he owns a gym in Iran, but I'm sure this is like the bulk of the money he makes. Whereas that 50 grand that Chris makes from the Olympia winning, I hate to use this phrase because some people get offended, but Chris Bumstead probably wipes his ass with $50,000, guys. He's doing great. Smart, hardworking kid, ambitious, industrious. I actually got a chance to talk to his dad, Jeff Bumstead, at the meet and greet. He was hanging around helping out Ian Valier, his son-in-law. What a nice guy. You could see where Chris gets his values, his personality from. His dad, just like a real chill guy, doesn't seem like, in that situation with so much noise and people waiting to meet Ian and everything, it could be stressful, but he wasn't stressed one bit. Let's see. Joseph's on these lives a lot. Thank you, Joseph. What do you think on what Dennis said about Rami, that he lost because he was flat, not because of the injuries? I don't think he would have won anyway. I just don't. I mean, he was flat, sure, but I mean, these guys were probably all flat, given the circumstances. They probably all could have been fuller if they'd known exactly when they were going to go on stage, and they could have eaten appropriately around that time frame. I think Rami's got some other issues going on. It's possibly nerve damage. We don't know. He would need to be examined, like MRIs. He needs a neurologist to look at him, maybe an orthopedic surgeon. I'm hoping he gets all worked up, and if these are issues that can be resolved, I have nothing against Rami. He's a very nice guy. I'd be happy for him if he was able to get his title back. So far we've only seen that happen in the Open once with Cutler in 2009. We did see Clarita get his 212 title back this year, so congrats to Sean. B-Boy T.I., I appreciate the transparent comment on Richie Suarez post. So you think if they want to compare, they should compare the overall body? Yeah, well, it's up to them. They can do whatever they want. Rich was a legend. He was Mr. Olympia, runner-up 3 years in a row. He was the first Arnold Classic champ. He's not like some keyboard warrior. He's been up there. He's done that, and he used to bring amazing condition. But, yeah, I could see where it comes across as, like, salty or bitter that these older, former greats are talking shit about the new guys, that they're missing this or that. But, I mean, even if you want to get into overall physique, I'm sure they could pick apart different things. What's up with my screen? I'm getting like that. I don't know why I can't see it. I'm seeing like the spinning circle of death on my screen. Now I got a commercial for some shirts. Let me get back to you guys. And then B-Boy continued. I mean, if you want to compare, why not look at the quads or other body parts? Also, the weights there coming into the show. Well, the weight, I wouldn't bring the weight into it because that doesn't really mean anything. Yeah, the guys are a lot heavier now, absolutely. But they're on a lot more gear than the guys wore back in the day too. So that's got to be, you have to account for that. But yeah, I mean the quads now are on another level for most part. Most of these guys have tremendous quads. You know, in the 90s, you had some guys with great legs for sure. Of course you did. But man, look at the quads on Hadi, on Derek, on Nick, Brandon, not so much, Rami, Samson. Hunter's got pretty good quads. Andrew Jack's got pretty good quads. Bonak has good quads. Raphael for sure. So the top 10, 9 out of the top 10 had outstanding quads that were probably on a higher level than most of the guys in the 90s or 80s and 90s. 80s for sure. You didn't see a lot of huge quads in the 80s. I mean, Tom Platz is really the only one. And Tim Belknap, who never did too much as a pro, didn't do that well compared to these other guys. So yeah. Glenn Hill. Prize money should be based on what anyone might make outside of competing. Oh, I agree with you, Glenn. I agree. I do think that, I don't think Open is 8 times more popular, 8 times more of a draw than Classic. And if that's what you're going to base it on is return on investment, we're giving this guy so much money because he's drawing the crowds, he's getting the VIP tickets. I think there's plenty of people there to see Bumstead and the other guys, Ramon, Urs. Yeah, I do think Classic should make more money. And the Arnold Classic event happening in early March, I believe that they said, I know I should know this off the top of my head, they're going to pay Classic the same as Open at that show. They've raised the Classic prize money significantly. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Olympia will do the same next year. You know, they've been very consistent with raising prize money, trying to make positive changes. They're trying to make everyone happy, which is you can't make everybody happy. You can't, but they're trying, and that's one thing I could see would. But then bikini, the other divisions are going to say, well, we should get figure should get as much as every division wants as much money as possible. Of course, they all work hard, they all deserve to get paid very, very well, and unfortunately, there's just not billions of dollars in resources to pay out as there are in these other major sports like football, baseball, basketball. Even hockey compared to bodybuilding has a lot more money. Sorry about this cold, guys. I've had this cold since like mid-November. It's not COVID. I've been tested a couple times, but this cold will not go away. Hello Friend says, I know Hadi won, but moving forward, what do you think Nick can do to beat Derek? Here we go again. Do you think he'll be able to overcome Derek anytime soon? Or if Derek is never off, considering Derek's structure? Derek has a much prettier shape and structure. Nick has this overwhelming mass, gets in great condition. Who knows, man? Who knows? Nick could win next year. Any of these guys in the top 5 are capable of winning the show. I mean, Rami, the 5th place guy, was the winner the last 2 years in a row. Brandon, the 4th place guy, he's been Mr. Olympia. Nick, Derek, and Hadi beat them all, so it's feasible that any of these guys can win under the right circumstances. Joseph, where do you think Clarita would have placed if he was allowed to compete in Open? Should be moved, and he moved to Open next year? No, I think he should stay 212. I think he's doing a fantastic job winning that title back, and now he's a 2-time Olympia champion. Honestly, I think he would have been 9th or 10th. Condition was great. He probably would have beat Bonak. I think he would have been like 9th, maybe 7th, 8th. I mean, he wouldn't have been top 6. He would not have been top 6. Somewhere between 7th and 10th is my best guess. And I love Sean. I think he's got a fantastic physique. That's realistically where I think. And I don't think he should move to Open because I know the money's better, but he's not going to be winning the Mr. Olympia. I don't believe he would. I think he'd just be overwhelmed by some of these guys. And, I know he beat Sergio Oliva Jr. and he beat Regan Grimes at the Legion last year, but those 2 guys are not at the caliber of the top 6 at the Mr. Olympia. I'm sorry, they're not. So it's who you beat. Whenever you see somebody win a contest, I always want to see the lineup. Who'd he beat? If it was a really weak show, like a lot of these guys got to the Olympia winning shows, and they were not strong shows. I mean, Brazil, don't get mad at me, Brazil. I love you guys in Brazil, but a couple of guys there were from Brazil, and they won Open shows in Brazil that there were like 5 guys in, and nobody I'd ever heard of. So it's not that they did earn the right to be there, but I knew they were going to get blown away, like not even looked at the Olympia. That's exactly what happened. They were in the last call out. Just because you won That's the saying. I don't know if every open show should qualify you for the Olympia. I don't know if they should, because the caliber of some of those shows was not very strong. And then these guys get to the Olympia, they're just like stage decorations, basically. They don't get looked at. Do you think they should scrap the weight restriction? Oh, thanks, Jen. Jen Geraci, who stayed up very, very late Friday and Saturday nights, well into the morning time. She was trying to mirror our schedule on the West Coast. But gosh, 4 a.m., Jen, yeah. Eastern. There's not enough green tea in the world. What was she drinking, 5-hour energy? I joked to her, you need a 50-hour energy drink for this shit. Damn. Glenn Hill, do you think they should scrap the weight restriction of classic and just judge them where they have classic attributes? If they get too big, they'll be marked down accordingly. I've pondered that question myself many times, Glenn. And I've talked about it with guys like Breon, 2-time classic champ. He feels, and I kind of agree with this, that we would see a decrease in the quality of condition of these guys if they didn't have a weight restriction. The reason the classic guys are almost always down to the very last place guy in that Olympia, there were 59 of them. Not one of those guys was out of shape, not one. Some of them were, leaner than others, but the fact that they have to get down to this arbitrary weight cutoff for their height, it forces them, most of them, to get really shredded, because by the time they get down there to that weight, they're shredded, It's like, if I was an amateur, sorry to talk about myself. I hate when other people do that. But just to give you an example, if I was an amateur in the NPC competing in classic, now that I'm under 5'8", I've dropped, my height's gone down. They should have heighted me when I was young, 5'8 and a quarter. So I couldn't weigh more than 182. For me to get down, I'm a little under 220 now. For me to get to 182, I would be shredded. I'd be skinny. I think I'd look like shit at 182, but I'd be shredded. And that's, if you take away the weight restrictions from classic, I think you'd see guys who were coming in bigger and fuller and not as conditioned. And part of the appeal of classic is that these guys do stay in condition. I think if they had no weight restriction, you'd also see some of the midsections getting bigger, because now they're like, oh, well, I can get bigger. I'll eat more food. A lot of these guys in classic, they really have to limit their food consumption so they don't grow too much, because then they grow out of their weight class and they couldn't do classic anymore. So yeah, I don't know. My gut says leave it the way it is. Let's see. Dr. Fool, too. Steve Weinberger said Andrew is potentially next Ronnie Coleman. Do you agree? Yeah, I think Andrew jacked if he gets his hamstrings up, if he fills out his arms, and his legs are big, right? I mean, he just needs to fill out a little more. He's got long arms and legs. He's got tremendous potential, Andrew Jacked. I think potential-wise, he had the most potential on that Olympia stage, Andrew Jacked. As far as we're barely seeing the tip of the iceberg. This guy was an amateur back in March. He started this year off as an amateur, turned pro in March. 2 shows, August and October. He wins the Texas Pro, blew it away. Arnold UK, blew it away. And that was, I'd say, like 80% condition. He wasn't shredded by any means. From the back, not at all. Glutes and hams were soft. Lower back wasn't that sharp at all. And at the Olympia, he wasn't even that sharp. Condition still wasn't that great. So once he adds a little mass and gets into really good condition, if he got 7th place looking to me like, I could see him looking much better than this. So when he does, yeah, sky's the limit. Frank Furt, is the lower lat issue nowadays direct to pinning lats? I don't know. Maybe that's something no one's even thought to ask. Trigilli did a video on his bodybuilding bullshit about Ian Valier, and I was like, oh no. But then I watched it, and I paused it at a part of the video where there were 3 shots of Ian hitting the rear lat spread, Ian Valier, in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And the lower part of his back, it was like the spinal erectors, the lower quarter of his back, just it was starting to fade away in 2021. In 2022, it was just gone, atrophied away. The muscle's still there, but it's shrunk down to nothing, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's from pinning in the lats. I mean, I assume most of these guys do stick it in the lats. You got if you got all these different types of gear you're on, especially pre-contest, delt, glute, I've been hitting lats a little bit more lately because I'm sick of hitting my glutes. There's so much scar tissue. I don't like hitting the shoulders because then I get like a lump sometimes. It looks awful. But yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if that's something no one's asked, no one's thought to ask Frankfurt. So good job. Hello, friend. Apologies this was asked before I joined later. You excited to see Breon in 212? Do you think he can do real damage? I'm excited to see what he can do with his physique in the next, say, 6 to 8 months. I assume he's going to have to take a significant off season because he needs a lot more mass. I'm sure he's been limiting his food, he still trains really hard. I watch his videos, but he's been limiting, I'm sure, the PEDs, the food, the things that would allow him to put on a lot more body weight and muscle mass because he had to get down to 180 pounds all this time, the last few years for Classic. So he's got beautiful shape and structure. I wonder, can he add the mass? I don't know because, he wants to win the 212 Olympia. He's already been a 2-time Classic Physique Olympia. He is nowhere near the amount of mass of a Clarita, of an Angel Calderon Frias. Those guys are built like tanks. He would need to be probably about 210 on stage. He'd need like another, let's say 205, 25 more pounds of muscle mass to compare to those guys in terms of how thick they are. Can he do it at age 42, 43, whatever he is? I don't know. I'm excited to see. I'm not writing him off. I don't write anybody off. I like to see people prove me wrong. So if I'm going to predict right now that he can't do it, I'd love to see him prove me wrong. But I'm not going to say that because he's been holding back. He's been holding back. So I bet, let's say he needs 25 pounds. Let's say that right off the bat, which I believe he does. He probably already has another 10 pounds of muscle that just eating more and letting his body weight come up, it's there. He already had that. He's just been not allowing it to show. So he really probably needs another, realistically, 15 pounds of muscle, that's a lot of muscle to gain. It's a lot, but he's got a lot of determination, a lot of discipline. So we'll see what Breon can do. Jen's talking about the drinks. 5-hour energy would have been a good commercial for your Kratom. Haven't tried Kratom. Kratom gives you energy? Yeah, I should try that. I stopped at the booth for a minute with Steve and Jordan. Jen, I met the owner wasn't there, but we were hanging out there for a bit. Frankfurt, why can't they figure out Class V criteria for anyone to understand what it's been for 6 years now? Nobody knows what they're really judging. I would disagree with that, Frank. I think they're looking for a combination. Mass isn't as big a priority in Classic, although Bumstead's not a small guy. He's not. Bumstead has the same exact height and weight as Arnold in his prime, which I know Arnold in his prime now would be too small, right? But me and millions of others were inspired to start training because of Arnold's physique, the way he looked at 6'2", 240, and that's Bumstead. But I think the attributes that they're looking for in Classic are structure, shape, symmetry, proportion, balance, condition, with enough size too. And I think they're doing a really good job. I think Bumstead's the standard bearer. He's the poster boy. That's Classic Physique right there. That's what they want you to look like. Terrence also, no slouch, 2-time Arnold Classic champion. I know he was a little flat, condition wasn't 100%. He got bumped down this year, but he's still deadly. Don't count Terrence out for a second. Joseph, I don't follow men's physique much, but he means physique. But the new Mr. Olympia that I don't know his name is the worst champ I've ever seen in the history of men's physique. I don't follow it at all. I'm sorry. I apologize. It was I know who won. I was in the elevator with him. Aaron Banks. Tall guy, big, broad, round shoulders, big arms, big chest, big back, tiny, tiny waist. That's what they like in men's physique. I don't know why you would say he was the worst. To me, all the top guys in men's physique have a very similar look. Just like women's bikini, women's wellness, they all have a very similar look. Whereas like at the Mr. Olympia, top 6 Mr. Olympia was 6 very different physiques. Hottie, Derek, Nick, Brandon, Rami, Samson. If you saw silhouettes of all 6 of those guys, you'd know exactly who was who. Whereas if you showed me top 6 men's physique, maybe the people who really follow men's physique would know, but I bet most of them would be like, is that Brandon or is that Aaron? I'm not sure. I'm not shitting on you guys. I really not. I just don't. I have a hard time judging men's physique and bikini, especially, are hard for me to judge. Michael Mercier, thoughts on Antoine this year's though? I thought Antoine looked really good. he needs more mass in the upper body. His legs are great. He's got phenomenal quads, hams, calves. He's got good size in the upper body. Just compared to these guys, it didn't match up. I love Antoine's physique. I think he's got beautiful shape and flow. It's a very pretty, very aesthetically pleasing physique. And I like him as a person. He's got a great personality. I love Antoine. You know, he's got the great story too. He's beat addiction. He's very transparent. You know, he talks about, I've relapsed. He doesn't pretend he's perfect. And, you know, he's an inspiration to others who struggle with addiction. And there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people. Some of you watching this are struggling with addiction. I feel for you. I know it's not easy. I've had issues myself in the past. I had a sister that I lost to heroin addiction, several addicts just in my own siblings. So I've seen it all firsthand, guys. Thanks for streaming. Thoughts on Brandon Curry, Big Boy T. Thoughts on Brandon Curry at this Olympia. Came in bigger, but the condition was lacking. His legs were especially not very separated or strided. S. McGee, how much weight can Ramon, second place in Classic, put on for his height? 0. He's at the limit. He can't put on 1 more ounce. He's at the limit. So that's it. There's your answer. He's right there. Frank Furt, who do you see winning the Open next year? Reign of Summer is changing every year. I think it's very likely it could change every year. Man. Next year it could be Derek, could be Nick, could be Andrew Jack. Maybe the year after that it'll be Andrew Jack, and he might hold it for a couple of years. Maybe Rami will be able to fix the stuff that's going on, and he'll win it back. I don't see like a dynasty, though. I don't see that happening. I don't see anyone right now who I think is so far ahead of everyone else that they're going to hold a title for years and years, the way Ronnie was in his prime. I don't see that happening. Hello, friend. What do you think of Samson Dauda? Outside a little more conditioning and back improvements, what do you think he can do to improve? He's made so many improvements this year alone. If he can do even half the improvements for 2023 season that he did from Arnold and Boston Pro in early March to these fall shows, to the Olympia, man, he'll be right there. He's guaranteed top 5, maybe top 3, possible future Mr. Olympia. I mean, we throw that around all the time. Future Mr. Olympia, future Mr. Olympia. Obviously, not all these guys that we say that about. Most of these people that we say that about end up not winning the Mr. Olympia, but that's not to say that they didn't have the potential. I mean, like I said, anyone in this top 6 was good enough to be Mr. Olympia. 2 of them have already been Mr. Olympia. One of them is Mr. Olympia now, so yeah, it's tough. These guys are awesome. Jimmy Villanueva says C7 and C8, which are discs, affect the triceps and lower back, and that's what a lot of people speculate is going on with Rami, is injuries to those areas of the spine. John D 759, were you shocked by the placing of Big Rami? Is it normal for bodybuilders to get injections before their competition? What do you think of Rami's coach's decision to make these adjustments? What injections did he get before the competition? I don't know what you mean by that. I wasn't shocked because they had him in the judging. He was all the way on the right, and typically, if you're in the running to win, like if you're the reigning Mr. Olympia, they move you to the middle, and they never moved Rami. They left him on the side. I said, that's it. He's not winning, and I knew it. And people were saying, like Nick Strength and Power, Nick was saying, well, that's because he was so dominant. They just know. Even when like Dorian and Ronnie were dominant, they put him in the middle once. They gave him one call out, and then they put him back in line. That was it, because they're like, that. We've seen all we need to see, but they always at least put the guy in the middle, and Rami was never moved. So I was like, shit, he's going to be like 4th or 5th. And he was 5th. Yeah. Dr. Fool 2, in my opinion, Classic still feels underrated. Chris has one of the best side chests in history, along with Breon's back. I was so excited to see Logan. Do you think Logan has top 5 potential? I don't know, because I didn't get to see Logan with these other guys. I really wanted to. Logan was 9th last year, 9th or 10th. I think he was 9th, but he was really flat last year. The pictures and videos I was seeing of Logan, he was going to bring a much better package to this show than he ever has before. I believe he would have been top 5. I think he certainly had that potential. But like again, I didn't see him next to those guys, so it's really hard to say. You can't judge people on their own. Look, I mean, Rami a week out from the Olympia looked unbeatable. We all thought he was going to win, all of us. And then, shit went south. But again, let's say Classic. There were 59 guys competing in Classic. If you saw any one of those guys on their Instagram and you weren't like someone who followed Classic that closely, you'd be like, wow, this guy's probably going to win. He looks perfect. Well, 59 perfect guys, and only one of them can win. Doesn't that show? Underrated. I don't think classic is underrated. I think it's taking time. It's gaining popularity. It's gaining momentum. It's just going to take a little more time. S. McG, doesn't that show how great cbum is? That Ramon looks amazing, but cbum just looks so much different. Yeah. Oh, Ramon's great. I love Ramon's physique. But Chris is just like, right now he's on another level. Frankfurt, what was the highlight for you at the Olympia weekend? A couple highlights. I'd say Chris Bumstead dominating. It was great to see Chris with such a clear, decisive win, and couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I was happy to see Clarita get his title back, and I was happy to see Hadi Choopan win, because it goes to show you the politics and all that doesn't matter anymore, because I guarantee you, 30 years ago, Hadi could have been the best physique on stage, and they would never let him win. Never. They would not have let, and when I say let him win, that means there was collusion between judging officials and promoters of the show to fix scores so that the people who are more marketable would place better or win. They would never have let a short guy from Iran, doesn't speak English, he's hard of hearing, hearing impaired, we can't say deaf anymore. They would never let him win. And this goes to show you, they just went with the best physique. And, you know, we've seen reigning Mr. Olympias come in looking like crap. I'm sorry, but it's true. And they still won. They still kept their title. Didn't happen. So I think the judging is so much better. What have you, Joseph, do you think Ramon should move to open? This year he almost did make weight. No, he's got a beautiful physique. I don't think he would ruin it necessarily, but he looks so great now. Why mess with it? No, he's great in classic. Leave him alone. Taylor Cantley, did they do that to Phil Heath? He came out and put him off to the side. It was a battle for second at that point. Not sure which year it was. I don't remember a year where Phil Heath never got a comparison in the middle. I don't remember that ever. He was always in the middle at one point during the judging. Jilly Villanueva, if cbum gains 20 pounds of muscle, comes in the same condition next year, can he beat Hadi when the Open Mr. O? I don't think so. 20 pounds wouldn't be enough. His arms are going to be a big liability. His biceps in the front bicep, double bicep shot, they're pretty weak. They're weaker than anybody in the top 15 of the Olympia. I mean, think about some of these guys. Like even the 12th place Krizo's got biceps like this. And again, why would Bumstead do that? He has Berger's disease, where his health might be impacted negatively by pushing the envelope with gear, more food, and all that. So no, Chris is fine. I did a whole video like 2 or 3 days ago. Should Bumstead go open? We talked about this shit for like an hour. So check that out on the same channel. Olympia judging committee. Logan didn't qualify for Olympia last year. He was 9 the year before. He actually did, because there was a show in November of last year called the Sean Ray Hawaiian Classic. It was in Honolulu, Hawaii, and Logan went out to Hawaii and he won that, which qualified him for the 2022 Olympia. So he did qualify. They don't just let people in these shows, guys. John D. 759. Do you think in the past the Mr. Olympia judging committee was biased toward crowning an English speaker Mr. Olympia? Yes. Was there ever racism in the sport? Absolutely there was. Absolutely there was. You know, before Joe Weider came along, when it was like the AAU and the Mr. America, there were black athletes that couldn't win. They literally wouldn't let them win. They were better than the guys that were winning, but they were black. They were African American. They wouldn't let them win. Even as recent, it wasn't recent, but like I remember the 1972 Olympia. Obviously, I don't remember it. I was 2 or 3 years old. Arnold beat Sergio Oliva in what most people feel was Sergio's best in Munich, Germany. And the excuse the judges gave at the end was his skin was so dark against the black backdrop we couldn't really see him that well. Like, oh, so he can't win the Olympia now? Yeah, there was some bullshit back in the day. Bullshit, a lot of racism. You can't call it racist now. You got, African Americans do very, very well. And I've never seen a show where they gave it to like the blue-eyed, blonde-haired white guy. Well, maybe Ian. But Ian was deserving. No, I don't see any racism in the judging anymore. SMG, I don't get why people are hating on Hadi winning. It's because everyone's got their favorites. All these fans have their favorites, and when their guy doesn't win, they hate seeing somebody else win, so they're going to shit on that guy. You can watch a video and see conditioning. What do I think about the lighting? Hello, friend. I thought it looked really good. Nah, the lighting was fine. I don't know if it wasn't coming through on the stream. The lighting was pretty good. I thought it was done very well. SMcG, you can watch a video and see the conditioning difference between Hadi's quads as well as overall size. Are very comparable, the biggest of guys. Yeah, Hadi was in great shape. I don't know what people are talking about. Fabiano Veiga, I think he's just signaling Brazil with the BR. Yeah, Brazil. A lot of great Brazilians at this show in all divisions. Frankfurt, can you explain the judging process quick? So the head judge has the privilege to call the best guys out in his opinion, and the rest of the judges have to give their opinion based on the call out. Yeah, so the head judge makes the call out, but you see him like conferring with the judge, like, who do you want to see? It's not like he's an emperor. So he does the call outs, and then he'll confer, like, anybody else, who do you want to see so and so moved? He's just basically the announcer to tell the guys what to do. But he also is judging himself in a way. His judge isn't on the score sheet, but he's controlling who's seen. But Steve Weinberger is the most experienced judge probably in the world right now. I would trust his judgment, which is funny because a couple of years ago, Steve Weinberger co-promotes 2 shows a year here in Boston with Jay Cutler, and some guy who got 4th place in the light 4th or 5th in light heavies, he went online, made some really butthurt posts the day after, like, oh, the judge doesn't know what he's doing, and I should have been compared to, like, dude, he judges the Mr. Olympia. You're telling me he can't judge the friggin' light heavyweight class at the New England or the Jay Cutler Classic? Get that. You just weren't good enough, dude. Go back to your hole. So what would it take for Nick Walker to win next? I don't know, Jimmy. If you get beat, you just got to come back better and better and better. That's it. He'll come back better. Maybe that'll be good enough. That's a good question, Frank. The People's Champ Award was voted online. I think they went to a website and just had to vote on it. They announced at the show. I wasn't paying any attention because I don't care about the People's Champ Award. It's cool. Nick got a nice belt out of it, but it doesn't have anything to do with the actual competition. It's just for the crowd. Steve said gain more size. He's talking about what Nick needs to do. I don't know if Nick needs more size. Good Lord. Where's he going to put it? Taylor Canty, Hadi's midsection looked insane too. Those serratus muscles. Yeah, Hadi was shredded, dude. Maybe the back wasn't as like dry and strident as some people would have liked, but juice from the front, he was lights out. Joseph, I'm talking about Olympia 2021. Logan didn't qualify. You said he was top. He was 9th. He was qualified for this year, Mr. Olympia. He did qualify. He had to qualify. Was that the year he won? Did he win New York Pro that year, or was that the year before? He qualified somehow. He didn't just. They don't just let people in the Olympia. He wasn't. There was no special invite. I mean, I could tell you. I could pull it up if you really want me to. But yeah, he qualified somehow to be there, guys. He did. Dr. Fool, too. I keep switching a thumbnail. I'm wearing cbum, side legs, side chest shot. Yeah, that side chest shot that I used in the thumbnail was taken by Gilco Productions, who did amazing videography at the show. His side leg is just, it's perfect. The quads, the hams. Yeah, that's a great side chest. Even his arms, even his biceps look really good in that shot. That to me, that's my favorite side chest in the world right now, is that shot of Bumstead. I think he looks awesome. John D, why is Urs placed so high in competition? She looks relatively skinny than most classic physique bodybuilders. What can you tell us about his complete package seems to place him that high? Urs has a beautiful shape and symmetry. He's not small. He's got huge. His legs are great. Upper body, he could use a little more, still needs some more mass, but he's got the delts, the chests. His arms are getting better. He's got a tiny, tiny waist. So it's the overall shape, symmetry, flow of the physique. He's not a small guy. He could still be bigger in the upper body, but he's better than you give him credit for. Akash Mohapatra, did Ian really beat Krizo based only on conditioning? Oh, it was only one place of heart. Let's see. I lost your thing there. I'm sorry. I think Biden will judge the whole package. Yeah. Krizo, you know what really hurt Krizo was his tan. He had a horrible stage color. It wasn't dark enough, and the shade was off. It looked like a little yellow or orange tint, not really brown, which is what you're supposed to be. He could have been a little better conditioned. The condition wasn't bad. His back needs to be a little better, but Ian's back he's got issues with his back. When it comes down to like 11th to 12th, does it really matter that this guy beat that guy? It's like, you still didn't make top 10. I mean, they're in the top 15, so at least they placed. There were 15 guys that didn't place. They just got 16th. I mean, that would suck. Go all the way to spend all the money and time and months of dieting and traveling, and then you don't place. That would suck. For sure, Taylor. Would you judge the posing routine again, says Frankfurt? No, because The whole thing with the posing routine is you might have guys with awesome routines and are great posers, but their physiques aren't that great. Like maybe they're missing body parts, maybe their conditioning is off. You're gonna like place them ahead of guys with much better physiques in the posing round, and they can pick up a bunch of points. It's a physique contest. I think people should all pose well and practice their posing and have good routines. I do believe that, but to force them to do it, I don't see how that's going to have a good outcome personally. Nick's tan was a little weird too. Yeah. Daniel Winnie didn't qualify for 2021. Talking about Logan. Logan lost to Robert Timms at Texas Pro in 2021. He didn't qualify. He might have got there in points. Yeah, you don't have to win a show. You can be top 3 in the points. They have the point system now. Maybe he got there in points that year, 2021. I'm not really sure. I'd have to go look. I can't do it while I'm doing this, obviously, but he earned his right to be there. They didn't just let him on. He didn't get a special invitation. He either won on, I'm sorry, Logan, I don't know this offhand, but he either won something or he got enough points from placing high at a couple different shows. S. McGee, Ron, do you think it would be a good idea if the IFBB restricted the amount of events, control the amount of Olympic competitors? I don't think it's good because people want to have a lot of pro shows, but my idea is that instead of every show automatically qualifying you for the Olympia, maybe you only have like tier 1 shows qualify you. Then tier 2 shows give you X amount of points. And then tier 3 shows, if you win those, they give you even less points. And you'd still have to win a couple of those, a couple of the tier 2 or tier 3 to qualify. You wouldn't just automatically qualify. Maybe that would help cut back on the amount of competitors because there were too many people in this show. There was 400 athletes in the Olympias. It's too many. Hector Mendoza was in Tennessee. We did live video for almost everything, as you saw. We were trying that out to see how well, and it went pretty well. But we haven't seen the last of Hector. Hector's going to be working with me again. Thanks, Raymond. Joseph, do you think Rami should switch his coach and go to Hani? Hani can't coach everybody. That's like everybody's. Should so-and-so go to Hani? You're assuming that Hani would take on a bunch more clients, and I don't think he would. Hani's not looking to have like 10, 12 guys in the Olympia. He's very busy with his Evogen supplement company. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He doesn't coach like he used to coach a lot of people. Not a lot compared to some people, but he used to have probably 2 dozen people. He won't do that anymore. But I don't know if it's an issue with the coaching. I don't know if Hani could fix what's wrong with Rami. Depends on what's wrong. Ionis Pap, is Phil coming back in your opinion? I don't know. Yeah, Jen, they're asking about how Logan qualified for the 2021 Olympia, which was held before that. And I didn't know the answer. I know he won New York Pro, but I think that was in 2020? What year did he qualify? How did he qualify for the 2021 Olympia? That's what we're trying to figure out. And I don't know. I don't know how he qualified the year for that show. Phil coming back. Yeah, Phil. I think Phil might come back. I think he still got that fire. His physique's still intact. I think he could do it. Logan didn't compete in the 2021 Olympia. He didn't? Is that right? He wasn't there. Oh, well, there you go. He was 9th in 2020. 2021, he just did that qualifier, the Sean Rain. He won that and he came back. Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys, for clearing that up. I could have looked it up, but I can't do it while I'm doing this. Who's the most deceiving bodybuilder of the week compared from IG pics to stage appearance? God, where do you begin? There's so many. The thing is with Instagram, you're controlling the environment, where you're taking the picture, the lighting, everything, what you've eaten. And, it's not, a lot of guys will do it like in there. They'll get a good pump. They'll strip down to their underwear or whatever, and they'll go to this one spot in their gym with perfect lighting at like just the right time of day, and they're pumped and they're full and veiny, and people are like, whoa. But it's not the same as stage lighting. Stage lighting is brutal. It's so bright. It's coming from many different directions. Very few people look better on stage than they do on Instagram. It's rare. It's usually the other way around because you're not in control of the lighting situation and other different aspects go into it. Oh my God. How much prize money do the guys in place 11 to 15 receive? Droosh Maroosh? I don't have any idea. They do get something. It's not much, but they get something. Actually, do they? Yeah, I think they all get something. Hello, friend. What was your opinion of Mike Summerfield in Classic? He looked to look a lot of conditioning, would seem very complete. Yeah, I mean, he made top 5. He's great. I was very impressed with Mike Summerfield. That's Neil Hill's guy from Germany. Very impressed with him. Beautiful shape, symmetry. Condition wasn't bad. Could have been a tiny, tiny bit better, but, we're comparing him to Bumstead. Bumstead's condition was like lights out. Joseph. Is Jan that she'll qualify in 2022 Olympia, not 2021? Yeah. SMG, I like the tier system. Well, that was my idea. Haha. You heard it here first. Ron Harris fixed the whole problem with too many shows competing, qualifying guys for Mr. Olympia. Thank you. John D, thanks again for streaming. It's so great to learn more about the sport through you. What do competitors think of each other? Is there any true adversity toward each other and like animosity? Are they all a big family? I don't know if they're all a big family, but they all have a mutual respect for each other because it's a tough sport. It's 24/7. They have to. It's a sport where you have to worry about how much sleep you're getting. Every single meal has to be timed. It has to be portioned out right. Workouts, cardio, tanning, posing. It's so much that goes into it. It's a very hard sport, and the financial rewards are not that great compared to other professional sports at all. So I think the guys all have to respect. The animosity comes when occasionally somebody will show disrespect. They'll say something, post something online, or say something in a podcast that's considered disrespectful. But for the most part, these guys don't engage in that. Jimmy Villanueva, does top 3 of Mr. have to requalify for next year? No, the top 5 automatically qualify. So Hadi, Derek, Nick, Brandon, Rami. Well, once you win the Olympia, you're qualified for life anyway. Like Rami could come back in 10 years if he wanted, just do the Olympia if he wants. Any Mr. Olympia, Samir Banout, anybody, Ronnie Coleman, anybody who's won the Olympia, they can automatically come back anytime they want and compete in it. That's a lifetime qualification. J.R. Williams, what is a good number of competitors to cap? That's a good question. The Open Olympia, 15, 18, or 20 who qualify for the show? I think 20 is reasonable. 20 is reasonable. It's a good amount of guys, but it's not like crazy. Yeah, 20. Hani has number 1 and 2. Yeah, Hani had the winner, and he had the second place guy. And he had the classic winner. Not bad. Check, that's correct. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so he didn't do the show. I forgot that Logan skipped the year. Did not realize that. Big Lenny. SMG, I bet Hani would rather pick up Andrew or Samson. Hani's not like looking to pick up anybody, I don't think. I don't think he's like, oh boy, I could get this. Coaching is not his main thing anymore. He does it, and he's great at it, but I don't think I don't think he lives to coach anymore. He's very busy with Evogen. He's got a wife and a kid now, and yeah, I don't think he's like looking to, show up all the other coaches. He's already got 22 Olympia wins. He's already on paper the best coach of all time. 22 Olympia wins Hani Rambod has helped achieve for his clients. 22. That's pretty amazing. B-Boy T.I. Why they keep rewarding Brandon with top 5 when he comes in way off the conditioning? Well, I wouldn't say he was way off. And he does have such round, bubbly, beautiful shape. Yeah, I mean, shape, structure, and his condition wasn't awful. It just could have been better, but it wasn't awful by any means. Jed, 2023 season should not be as brutal as 2022. Not as many qualifiers last year. Yeah, but didn't you say that the summer is going to be like a show every freaking weekend? It's a lot of coverage we're going to have to do on live with the virtual studio. Joseph, do you think Krizo can be top 3 next year? What do you think he's missing? His shape, size, just awesome. I mean, it could happen. It could happen. His back needs to be a little better. His back's not as bad as I thought it was. It looked better in person than I thought it did. So, hello friend gave us 10 pounds. Thank you, hello friend. I think that's what that signed. Thanks a lot. So, hello friend, hello comma friend says thanks a lot. Not only for the post-show coverage, Q&As for the entire coverage league, up to, during, and post-show. It's been fantastic. Thank you, hello friend. I mean, this is our Super Bowl. This is what the whole year leads up to this, and then we spend the rest of the year. There's not much of the rest of the year left, but we spend the rest of the year sort of analyzing it and quarterbacking it, and what went wrong, what could be better next time, and I think we are. I think as the fans and the media, I think we're all pointing out little things that could be improved on to make the show better next year, and that's what it's all about. The athletes are going to get better. We don't have to worry about them. They're doing the business of bodybuilding, but the promoters are always looking to make the Olympia better, and we're always trying to figure out ways to make the coverage better. That's why we did so much live. We're thinking we could bring these things to you live, and sometimes it's tricky because you're relying on like Wi-Fi or 5G, and sometimes it's just not happening. Sometimes you couldn't get a stream going, like in the expo, you could not get a stream going. So I had to like record the interviews that I did with Kai Green and Chris Cormier and upload them later once I could get a signal, Wi-Fi. Jen says, thank you. Hello, friend, for the super chat. Much appreciated. August will be another hell month. Great. Oh, well, that's plenty. August is so far away. I'm not going to worry about it now. Let's see what else. We got anything? Guys, I'm going to take off. I'm going to eat a meal and take my son to the gym, put him through a leg workout. My boy. I love having the opportunity to train my son. My dad passed away when I was 16. We never had the chance to work out together. He wasn't a bodybuilder, but all right, I'll do one more. Where are so many women's divisions? I don't know, Frankfurt, because there's so many women that want to compete, and there's so many different types of women's bodies that they try to come up with something for everyone. If you want a little bit of muscle, some muscle, a lot of muscle, if you want to do a fitness routine, if you want to do this or that, we've got a division for you. If your lower body's bigger than your upper body, we got wellness for you. Something for everyone. Yeah, it's money. It's more money for the federation, but it's also more opportunities for athletes. So I get that. Yeah, it makes for very, very long shows. Jerry Williams, I heard you mention tier system is simpler when Bob Chigrel pros. Oh, Bob thought of it first? Damn it. Well, they already have tiers. They already have tiers shows, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. The shows are already separated that way. But my idea, and I don't think maybe Bob beat me to it, but don't have all the shows qualify for the Olympia. Just tier 1 shows are automatic qualifiers. Tier 2, you get a big bunch of points. And tier 3, you get less points than that. And the tier 2 and tier 3 show winners would have to win another show or maybe 3 shows to get to the Olympia. And then we'd have less people at the Olympia. Obrigado. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you watching. Again, please subscribe. Hit your notification bells. Do all that good stuff. Appreciate having you here. Appreciate interacting with us. We'll do this again sometime soon. If you have comments that I didn't get to, put them in the comments underneath. I'll get to them later. I promise I always do because I do appreciate you guys watching. We couldn't have an Ask Ron live without some people live watching. But yeah, put the comments, put your stuff underneath there that I'm not getting to. Just copy it and paste it in the comments underneath. I will get to it and answer it later in text form. It won't be live, but I'll get back to you, I promise. Thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome